This is a basic universal analytics to Google Analytics 4, really basic. So you're not seeing a bunch of videos out there necessarily that's going to cover a super basic one, because there are so many things that you can do to customize and be unique to your site and your business. So this is just the basic. We're going to use a setup assistant. I'm going to assume that you already have a Google Analytics for some data coming through and you're just seeing those ugly messages that make you nervous that you haven't done everything you need to do. As we're going through this, I need you to keep your brain on. Do not just blindly do these tasks, basically, just to make sure that your bases are covered. I am a data analyst who started niche blogging, who also helps other people get the most out of their Google Analytics data. So this is just coming from that, but I don't know your business and I don't know your sites. So as we're going through it, if something looks a little different, you need to go a little deeper into it. There will be resources below to kind of help you go down those rabbit holes. And of course, I can help you as well. Google Analytics 4 is not the same as Universal Analytics, kind of in that behind the scenes way. They measure things differently, and so that's why you're not going to be able to import your information from Universal Analytics into Google Analytics 4. If you do need access beyond what Google's going to provide, you're going to have to download that. And whether you're using it or not right now, there are some really neat options in Google Analytics 4. It opened up some things, so despite the grumbling on the internet, there are some perks to moving over to Google Analytics 4, so it is worth the learning curve. But I need you to keep this at the back of your mind. This is a free tool directly from what is sending you the most of your organic search. So don't totally discount it. It's worth digging into, but let's make sure you're set up right now. I'm logged into a Universal Analytics right now. I'm getting this nasty red countdown box, so I'm going to hit go to GA4 setup. If you go straight over to your GA4, that's fine too. You're just going to have the nasty message at the top so that you can click to go straight into your setup assistant 2. You're going to see this progress bar with 0 to 7 mark complete. At this point, data flowing, all you have to do, you can hover to see information when you see these dotted lines under something. In the past 48 hours, data collection for your property is active. You're good. You can always click into that and go find out more and manage data streams. In there, you'll have the access to see all is the default here, and I've got that, and it's receiving traffic, so we're good. If we needed to add a stream, we can. Likely, if you're on a basic setup and you haven't been doing anything other than basic traffic and bounce rate kind of stuff in Universal Analytics, this is what you're going to have. iOS and Android for app. So this is definitely not for that user. When you navigate away, you're going to have to click back over to go to Setup Assistant, because that you just kind of have to bounce around. But if you'll notice, whenever I scroll back down to the data collection, I was given 2 choices to manage data streams or mark as complete. I can mark as complete. Done. So super simple. It just feels more intense than what it technically is. Google Signals, though, that one requires a little bit more thought. If your business is set up so that demographics are important to you, then turn it on. If you need to do retargeting ads with through Google Ads, turn it on. Otherwise, leave it off. You can go through the process to set this up, but many of the people I'm talking to are more concerned with traffic. When you're logging into a Google Analytics 4 report, and if you have Google Signals turned on, it goes, cross-platform, does some nifty things, but they're trying to protect the individual user's data. So it'll give you an error about like a threshold reporting. And so there is talk about the magic number being 50. So if you're looking at a report where a number would be around that 50 range, I have seen a little bit less, but somewhere in that 50 range, it's just not going to show. So if you have a traffic source, you're starting to mess around in Pinterest and you have Google Signals turned on, and maybe you had 40 users come in through that, the Pinterest source, you're not going to see it. So it will take that out and your numbers won't necessarily match across your other reports. Same thing with landing pages. So if it's a low traffic page that you're actually trying to do a deep dive on, that's going to be limited from you. So if getting to that level of granularity is more important, leave it off. If demographics is more important to you, then you'll want to turn that on. So managing Google Signals, you fast forward if this doesn't apply to you and hit mark complete, but you can go through the get started. So this is telling you more about what it can do. So read into that to learn about more. You'll hit continue. And then basically you activate. But I am not going to activate for this site right this second, so I'm going to say decide later and move on with my life here. It's going to bring me back to that second screen when I first hit the Google signals, and you can go through the rest of this information, see how it applies. There's some defaults that are set up, and then data acknowledgement. That is key here. So you would say I acknowledge and then move on. I am not, so set up assistant, and I'm not going to turn it on. So I can mark it as complete. Set up conversions. When you hover again over these dotted lines, I had on this one missing permission, and then sometimes it'll show you the number. I don't have any conversions on the Universal Analytics. It's already got a default one. Let's go look at it just for fun. So manage conversions, it'll take me straight to the screen that matters, and it automatically put a purchase conversion on here. So you can really have some fun. I do recommend that you start playing around with events and conversions. But for this migration, we're gonna say we're done. There's nothing to convert. Mark is complete, and see, we're smooth sailing here. Define audiences, same vibe here. I have 2 audiences, none in Universal Analytics for this property, and then 2 on GA4. If I wanted to do something, I can import. I didn't have any when I did that hover over, so I'm not gonna. I could go over to that audiences that's over in the admin menu too, and then I can just mark as complete because I've already set those up. Linking to Google Ads. If you're not doing Google Ads, this one's kind of obvious. You can just come over here and do this, mark as complete. If you do have ad accounts and things of that nature, and that's what all 3 of these are related to, you would want to spend a little more time with it. This is beyond the setup assistant tool conversation. But if you do have an ads account, you can totally link it. It's very simple. But I know this property does not have that. Advanced setup, it's completely optional, so don't get hung up on stuff here. But if you, like in this one on the manage users, I only had myself with access to this, and the one user's the same for Google Analytics 4 for me. So because I love a good dopamine rush of marking off a checklist, I'm going to mark it as complete. But again, it's optional, but why not have some more fun with this marking as complete? Importing data. So generally this is more advanced, and if you're watching this isn't going to likely apply to you. In Google, we're going to talk about this in just a minute, but Google isn't about keeping all your data in the same way it did on Universal Analytics in the past. So there is an ability to link up to BigQuery, which is another Google product, so that you can store it in a database. We're going to just mark as complete for this. Set up a user ID. This is where enhance the measurement protocol, sending information from other HTTPS. Just mark as complete. Mark as complete and you're done. Like literally, that would cover you from a migration standpoint. Before we move on though, let's cover a couple of things. Under data retention, the default is actually going to be 2 months. So click 14. This doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to see 3 months from now on your standard traffic reports when you first log in. This is stuff whenever you start interacting with the Explore feature. That's where this data limit hits. Funnels and paths and where people are navigating on your site. That's the key here. So that is still limited to 14 even whenever you do this. The other thing to note is whatever filters you've included, like for your own IP addresses, you're going to want to do that conversion over here too. So look at your Universal Analytics and put whatever you've got over there here with your IP information. And it does this internal traffic for this property because it converted it over from Universal Analytics. It's got it in a testing state. Filters can literally change the data in the underlying database, and it can't be recovered necessarily. So you just kind of want to be careful with your filters. There is a testing space and you can look through that. There are some really neat things. Even if you're using some basic reporting, those conversions are super easy to set up, especially if you want to track newsletter signups specifically and call that a conversion, or even affiliate clicks. You can have some fun with events and then conversions along the same way so that it's in your native reporting to see the different Amazon clicks and any of the other partners that you're working with. Notice that I've still got this nasty red bar at the top, so we're gonna go into complete setup on that one. And to get everything cleared away, so I've still got the green, so not a big deal, right? But open connected property. And that's gonna bring you back to your Universal Analytics. Okay, got this message again, hit no thanks at this point. And then go down to where it automatically set up your GA4 property. You've already done that. Uncheck it. So by doing that, you'll stop seeing at least nasty red messages, hopefully. So if you have questions, I'll try to get into the comments and answer those. But if you need something deeper, I'll also include a link to the site so that you can learn more about how I can help. But ultimately, this is going to get you through a basic migration though, and you're not going to have the nasty error messages making you nervous.